Welcome to The Price of Civilization, the podcast that uncomplicates the tax code and explores how the money we pay shapes the world we live in. I'm Pietro Canestrelli. I have been a tax attorney for over 27 years, first working for the IRS and for the last 20 years defending taxpayers from paying more taxes than they legally owe. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of The Price of Civilization, and my special guest today is Coach VJ. And Coach VJ I've known for many years. He's coached us. And so Coach VJ, or I'm going to just call you VJ, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, how do you help people?
Yeah, so first, the elephant in the room, VJ, where is it coming from? These are my initials. My name is normally Volker Jaeckel, and nobody in America really can pronounce it.
Right.
So that's why I came up with the VJ, also Volker Jaeckel.
Yeah.
And so that is out of the room now.
Okay.
Who am I? What do I do? I'm a business coach, a DISC facilitator, and DISC profile facilitator, what you see here behind me. And I run workshops, courses, leadership seminars, keynotes, and known in the industry for a long time. I also do currently still marketing as a chief marketing officer for an auto group. But that is going more and more into the background because coaching keeps me busy. Because so many people have issues with their businesses, or most likely with themselves, and that's why I help.
Right. I find DISC personality testing and getting into that endlessly fascinating. It truly is something, because we went through DISC training with VJ, me and my wife, and you see things that you could never unsee. And it's been a few years since we've done the training, but still we instantly, because we were expanding, we're doing a lot of hiring, we instantly say this person's a red, or this person's a blue, or this person's a green, or this guy seems to be a great red-yellow combination. And we speak in those terms constantly. That's how it is. Give us a 3-4 minute explanation of what DISC is and how it can help business owners and individuals, non-business owners.
Yeah, of course. So DISC is for a long time around. There was a gentleman, his name was Bornstetter in Arizona, who came up with this idea of behavioral assessment. A lot of people are known these MBTI tests or assessments, and then DISC came along, and DISC was actually the first behavioral analysis where people could put in, answer some questions, and where they were then by a computer not just evaluated, but it was really picked apart how this person, the behavioral structure, the mindset, is actually working in their natural way, in their natural environment, at home, family, friends, but also in an adaptive style. The adaptive style is most likely the work style.
Right.
So what kind of job do you have? What are your tasks? What is your problems? And that is, in a nutshell, DISC, where they are figuring out where you are somewhere on this wheel, and where you have your natural tendencies to react or to act, and sometimes where you have aversions.
Right.
And since I'm a big believer since 1999, that's what I did in Germany. I did that for BMW Deutschland, or the Germany, and also for the German parcel services, that we found the right people for the right spots.
Right.
Long story short, there was a gentleman really outgoing, and he was head of accounting department. And all his employees hated him more and more.
Right.
BMW came to us and said, hey, can we do an assessment on this gentleman? Because he has really good grades and the school is good and he's a nice guy. But his employee didn't perform any longer like they did before when he came on board. So we figured out that he was actually here in this yellow area.
Yes.
But his job actually requires, sorry, I have to think, require more being an answer.
Yeah.
And since he came every weekend, after the weekend, came back to the office, and instead to have really jumped into work and being analysis,
Right.
metrics, he started small talks with his employees and
Blues hate
said,
that.
"What was the weekend? Did you see the movie? Did you do that?" And they were annoyed.
Yes.
So, long story short, uh, in America is hire and fire. In Germany, it's not hire and fire. So
Right.
they're trying to adjust his combination of his profile.
Right.
And we found out that he would be best in a marketing or product
Yeah.
management position where he can get his ideas out, his splurriness of influx and of crazy ideas. And that's what we put him. And he is still at BMW. He was still in BMW when I left in 2001 to the United States. And he did good. So that is what I most likely do. I also identify where we have internal conflicts. So when companies suddenly, most likely bosses come to me and say, you know what, I feel like my company or my people are not listen to me. And it's a sentiment that they feel like they are not being heard.
Right.
So what I most likely do is I do an analysis for the manager or the boss, and I also do the closest coworkers or his employees, how they are actually communicating beneath each other. And that's what I'm trying to do. And when we are finding out that suddenly there are some clashes, and then train on how to really convert a conversation, that's where the misery stops. And that's what I
Right.
do now for the last 3 years in the United States. I do it overall for 25 years. And as I said, I'm a international certified DISC coach and behavioral analyst.
If you're a business owner, especially if you're client facing, and I think that's most businesses, you have to deal with clients. And if you have employees, and if you're a big enough business, you're going to have employees, this is something that is going to supercharge you. It's going to be almost a superpower. Because if you and it's all about communication style and understanding that. And people fall into these different categories. Everybody's different, but they fall into these different categories. And the way you communicate with a blue is much different than what you communicate with, say, yellow or a red or a green. And you have to understand that. And if you understand that and accept that, then your communication skills are going to be so much better for these individuals. And I'm talking employees. We look, everyone gets a DISC profile before we hire them. We want to know what they're at, because another thing you could do is you could know what a good tax attorney looks like on a DISC score by prior experience. You really need to be a blue. You're going to be a blue, but if you have some yellow in you, that's a great thing too, because you need to communicate with the clients, and you need to be able to do that communication. We don't do this, but we don't do this formally, but informally, new clients, we understand where they fall on the DISC score. And we do this again, so we know the communication style that the client needs to have. It's not making them fit into our form, it's changing the way we talk to a client or communicate with a client based upon what, where they fall in the DISC. Because if we could meet the client where they're most comfortable at in the communication world, we're serving the client so much better, right? So any business owner, you need to get this training. You need to understand this communication. It actually works. It's, again, you can't unsee it, and it will change your life.
Well, when you think about it, 2 years ago, we started coaching you and your wife, but who did we coach first? We did actually the intake calls, right?
Right.
And we found out that your employees in the intake almost treated everybody the same way,
Correct.
always the same way. Even so it was polite, but sometimes what was the downfall is we couldn't set billable hours for you, right? We wanted to convert this in-call into an appointment for you to see how you can help further. So we trained DISC for your employees, which was fantastic. And after a couple of weeks, after they really came down to the nitty and gritty and understood the wheel and how we actually have to speak to people, how they would like to be spoken to, the platinum rule, that's where the conversion start place. And the interesting part is you don't have to be person in person. You can even figure that out on the phone.
Yeah.
You hear the melody of the voice. You hear the dialectic, the speedness.
The keywords.
The uncertainty. When you pick up on these, and that is what DISC is coaching you, when you pick up on those, you can convert almost like a chameleon. But the point is you are really, truly taking care of his needs, the caller. So, and that's what we did. And that's why I think it was a really successful field study, what we created, and it was fun.
Right. If you have a sales team, which is, intake and sales, or maybe you combine sales into intake, they're the same people. But it's very important. It's great when you have clients, but it's great for getting clients too. Because again, you're not fooling or tricking anybody. You're just meeting them where they're the most comfortable.
Absolutely.
Right. And again, and then the second people we train, I do believe, is the owners, myself and my wife, because we are different. We're pretty much opposites on the Discord. I'm a tax attorney, so I'm going to be blue, but I'm mainly blue, and Kristen's mainly red with some yellow. Yes. So we're different. We are comfortable in our communication, different styles, and for the business, it was very important that we're aware of this. And I think for the marriage too, but mainly for the business, where we're making decisions, we're communicating, and it's important to have that better communication. And the DISC training was really good at understanding where the other people need to be communicated. Kristen's favorite, one of her favorite books still is, what is it? I'm Talking to Idiots.
That's a DISC analysis book.
That's a DISC analysis book, because everyone thinks the other people on the DISC are idiots. They don't understand why they're saying these things. Just like in your thing in BMW, all the blue people, the engineers, were looking at this yellow and thinking, why is he babbling on about the weekend? I want to get to work. I want to focus on this. This is what I came for. I'm not interested in hearing this. While you're right, a marketing person is going to be much more interested in that, and that's their communication style.
It's interesting. Also, your wife, I never forget that, and it's still in my head. She said, "You're like a marriage counselor."
That's true.
Because we had our fights, but we had our, when I saw you guys communicating, and
we have arguments, but
and I stopped you guys, and then I said, let's see it from this angle, and then you guys came together, and that is a good thing. Also, your daughter and her husband, it's the same. They were in my courses, and they said the same. It actually made our relationship better. And that's what I'm trying to do, not just private relationships, but the relational overall when we are handling humans.
Right. Understanding where people come from is super important in how their communication style, and DISC is just a huge tool in that area. VJ, you're obviously not from California. you have your background in Germany. I always find the journey to be fascinating. You want to know something about a person. They could tell you what they're doing now and who they are now. But if you really want to know about somebody, you hear about their journey, what they've, their life journey and where they've come from and their experience. So let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were born in Germany.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always curious because I'm a huge history buff. Obviously, East and West Germany existed. You must have been a young man at the fall of the Berlin Wall. That must have
Yeah.
been
I
very.
was there.
You were there. All right. Well,
So let me, yeah.
let's hear about it.
So I'm 62 now. So I was born
Okay.
1964. Grew up in a household with four boys. My mom was a cleaning woman, cleaning
Right.
offices. My dad was a war veteran from the Second World War, lost his leg, was a carpenter.
Okay.
And early on, we had
West
really,
Germany, though, right?
yeah, Western Germany,
Okay.
Düsseldorf. Yes, Düsseldorf,
Düsseldorf.
close to
Okay.
the Dutch borderline.
Right.
So that's where I grew up. And I had a really humble upbringing. We had one car. My mom never had a driver license, right? So, and I remember that so strongly because when I was old enough, like 11, 12, I always was after school when I had done my homework, when I played a little bit soccer, then I went home at 6 o'clock and we took the train to clean offices.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sure.
my mom and I always, helped her cleaning offices. I was responsible for vacuum, the paper trash, and the toilet.
Were you the oldest of your family?
No, I'm the third.
Oh,
My
okay. Usually
oldest
the
brothers
baby
were
of the
already.
family gets special treatment and they don't
No,
have
no,
to.
no, no. The oldest ones were already out of the house because
Okay.
we had 8, 9 years age differences.
Okay.
Then I had a little brother who's still 8 years younger than me, but 19 years younger than my oldest brother. So
Okay.
really been bandwidth.
Yeah.
Long story short, so I was always working. And of course, I had a good childhood and was not always easy, but I helped my dad in the summer vacations, helping with wood paneling on the roof, on the ceilings, and all
Okay.
this stuff as a young teenager, and my mom cleaning offices. So then in 1986, I did an apprenticeship in interior design and sales. In Germany in 1986, I went to the army.
Okay.
1980 1989 was when the Mauer fell down.
Right.
That's why I was there. I was
Okay.
military police.
You were stationed.
And yeah, well, I was stationed in Western Germany, but when the wall came down, because I was military police, a staff sergeant,
Okay.
I was responsible to see what's going on there because the Russians, when they
Yeah.
left Eastern Germany, they had a lot of weaponry and
Oh,
ammunition
sure.
laying around. So
Yeah.
we had to secure that.
Yes. That's a good
It was a
idea.
mess, I tell you.
You don't want
So,
people just taking off with tanks and,
oh, yeah, we had these cases too. And in
Sure.
1990, then I decided, okay, after 4 years, staff sergeant, I did everything in 4 years. I decided to go back into my sales role and I started in automotive chemicals and then pharmaceutical sales.
Okay.
Very successfully, had my own sporting goods store later in the mid 90s, got a divorce, my first divorce, had 2 kids from there. And then 2 years later, in 1999, I lived in the south of Germany, and that's where also Brian Tracy, the man behind Focal Point Business Coaching, I met, and I learned with him leadership. I did his venues. I filled his venues with
Right.
attendees, right? I was a sales key account manager, and I also learned DISC in
Right.
1999. So that's how long I'm exposed to that.
Right.
Then in 2001, I decided to move to America because I met somebody. I wanted to get married. We are divorced now too, but the point is, long story short, in 2001, I had the idea to open a focal point business coaching in the tri-state area of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Unfortunately, in 2002, and Brian Tracy was open to that. And in 2002, I had my first son born with my second marriage, who passed, unfortunately, away 4 months old. And that brought me to a stop, and I said, no, I cannot do coaching now. I
No.
was just in disarray,
I
right?
can't imagine anybody.
Right. So I focused still on my German accent because that was even a weakness. People say, what did you say? What did you say? And grammar mistakes and all this stuff. I said, that is actually my strength. And there comes my leadership coaching in, what I learned in Germany. And I said, I know how to speak to people because of DISC.
Right.
And I called a dealership up in Michigan, Okemos, East Lansing. And I said, Mr. Williams, I think it makes sense to have a German guy with a German accent selling your German cars. He had Porsche, BMW, Mercedes-Benz.
I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
He was laughing and he said, did you ever sell cars? And I said, no, but I will be the best.
Yeah.
So long story short, people were betting on me. I will last 4 weeks because it's a cutthroat business.
Yeah.
I was, after 8 months, top 20 from New York to Wisconsin, BMW sales and customer satisfaction.
Awesome.
So, and early on, I always looked around the corner, what is next? I didn't want to be just a car sales guy. And then I started looking at marketing and digital marketing and social media marketing. Nobody knew actually what is happening in the industry, but I was early on. And then I was writing articles in a German newspaper in Michigan. I was speaking on little events. BMW was interested in my processes. So, and that's how I grew into a marketing role. Was in 2009 on the cover of a digital dealer magazine as one of the top e-commerce directors in the nation. And headhunters called me. I worked as an ambassador for a tech company. And I bring everything back what happened then, back to my roots of Brian Tracy, who does trainings like sales, selling skills, leadership, eat the frog, time management.
Right.
And somehow it came full circle because then I somehow ended up in California. And
like so many people.
Brian Tracy lives 1 hour away from us in Temecula. He lives in Salinas, Salina Beach, right? And I visited him actually a year ago. We had coffee at Starbucks. He is now older. He's 20 years older than me.
Right.
And he's getting old, like we all, but it was so refreshing to see when I told him about my idea that I would like to go with focal point coaching. And then I got the franchise and started out my venue. And so far, it's really good. I helped California State University in San Marcos. I coached their students with business.
That's my alumni. I got
That's
my
great.
BA there.
Yeah. I was an executive in residence there. I right now have created a sales skills and DISC skills program for MSJC College.
Okay, great.
That will possibly start in September, October. It's a 10-week program. I will be the coach for that. Then I did it for the Louis Entrepreneurship and California State University San Bernardino. I was an affiliate coach, did communications training with DISC.
Awesome.
And of course, I'm an innovation consultant for the Marietta Chamber and Patrick Ellis, where I help startup companies to perfect their pitch in front of investors. And we got already a couple of people who got funding out of that, and we had a program and a cohort running, was very successful. And yeah, that's what I do.
So if you want to sign up for any of these courses, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, I would always say following. You can always, the best thing is my website. When you go at VJ, also Victor James, vj.focalpointcoaching.com, there is always where you can schedule an appointment with me, a complimentary call, and I can say, hey, I have a cohort coming up, this and that. Do you have time there? I will send you some information. You can also give me a phone number. I can give my phone number out. I'm not worried about it. The phone number is 404-599-3359.
And we'll have all this linked to when
okay, perfect. Yeah, no, that would be the easiest way and say, hey, I heard you on a podcast. You said something about a program. How can I participate?
Right.
And we go from there.
All right. That's awesome. And quite simply, like I said before, and I'll repeat myself because this is super important. If you are a business owner with customers and employees or one or the other, the DISC training, the coaching, take advantage of coaching. You don't know everything. And don't pretend you don't. And, don't feel that you have to know everything. Reach out to coaches. This is a great way to start. You'll learn how to communicate much more effectively with the people that matter, which are your employees and your customers. So, what type of tax issues do you see? And what I see in DISC is not only do I use DISC for clients, um, I use DISC training and when I talk to IRS people or franchise tax board, whatever it is, most of them are blue
Yeah.
with some green. Um, they and you have to communicate with them in on that level. Meaning, I have found that when communicating with IRS people, whether they're attorneys or agents or anything like that, if you're analytical, if you're non-emotional, if you're they don't really want to get into too much small talk. Okay, they are numbers driven people that and evidence driven people, and you want to make a checklist of 1, 2, 3. This is what we're looking at. You're going to get much better results than if you yell at them or if you try to charm them or some of the stuff you might do for a red or a yellow or a green. So I don't know. That's my tax experience. What have you seen
Yeah.
in the tax realm that your skills or your training helps?
So it's good that you laid out what you see and how you would educate or how would you train. And what I see normally, and take it with a grain of salt, but these people who I coach, when they have tax problems, they don't have a tax problem. They have a problem to see clear, the clarity,
Right,
and focused.
right,
And because based on our wheel here behind me, you have tendencies of people, let's say business owners, and when I just can turn around, when you have somebody here in this range,
right,
who will struggle as a tax attorney to have them get the stuff together what you need.
right,
Because they are going from A to Z in zero time. It's so fast that you say, stop, wait a moment. I need this, I need this. So you would need to have for these people a clear list with bullet points they can follow and can tick
right,
off, right? So when you have somebody here in a green area, you as a tax professional will see that they are very scared.
yeah,
So you need to have actually a feeling that you don't come too harsh over, but you hold hands.
right.
Because they are
Reassurance.
the reassurance. They need trust. Number one, they need to trust you. And they need somebody who really says, hey, we got that. I'm on your side. So these are the little things.
Right,
When you have somebody really red, that is the interesting part. They are normally very fast. But the problem you run into is, or tax professionals run into is, they know everything already.
correct.
Most likely you have arguments with them and say, no, that's not true. I've made my research. I know what to do.
Right,
Da, 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 da. And the same sometimes with the blue ones because they are so in love with charts and have everything really nice categorized. When somebody comes in your office and has a binder and has every month exactly binder,
right.
you know that he is somewhere here,
Yeah, definitely.
right? So that is how you
Reds
need to
also
adjust.
want results.
That's it.
They don't want to
So
talk process. They want to say what can we get done
absolutely
and how
right.
fast can we get it done.
Exactly. And the problem is sometimes when you have people here in this area, they just spend, and then find out later, oh, geez, wait a moment, it was March and April is tax season. How do I pay that now? Right? So they are like splurgy. So there's so many facets we can talk for days, I think, on this one.
Yeah.
But these are the little things what I see. And I have seen, because I also do business owners separate, like on one-on-one coaching. There was a young CEO of an oil and grease company, and that would be a tax problem later on. And I'm sure he had problems. And he said, I don't know, I'm bleeding money. And we found out that he bled around about $250,000 each quarter.
Right.
And I said, what the hell is going on? Yeah, well, my my mom is taking money out of the account, my dad is taking money out of the account. I say, stop. So that needs to stop, number one.
Right.
I'm not a tax accountant, but that's what I told him. And I said, show me your, how you're handling account receivable and account payable. Yeah, account payable was okay. And I said, account receivable. And there was no process. So they called once when somebody didn't pay. Hey, would you please call, pay your bill? Okay, next week? Okay, good, thanks. Never follow up. So we looked at this. It took me 2 minutes. I looked at it. We interviewed the person who did
Right.
account receivable. She was here. She was nothing like this, what we needed.
Right.
Exchanged her. We got a really blue person.
Right.
And she put a process in place. And after only 4 weeks, we saw a surplus of $30,000 per month in the account receivable.
There was money there.
That is, the money was there, but he didn't know. And he was kind of a guy. He was also here in this area. Very nice boss, young boss, but also too flamboyant sometimes and didn't care. And I said, no, we need to learn to put you somewhere in this area that you will be the director.
Well, I'm going to take advantage of VJ right now and get some free training from him, because we also do proactive tax planning for business owners. So VJ, how should I approach the different classifications on the DISC or on you need proactive tax planning? It will save you tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes a year. What is my best way to communicate with the different colors on the DISC?
Yeah. So, for example, when you reach out to somebody and you already identify them, because you know your clients now, and you know that he is in this range, in the red area, you always come up with a solution for him or her. What is in for me, also for them.
Right.
So when you present something and I say, hey, I made some calculations, and when we would do this will give you over, let's say, the next 15 years or 10 years or 5 years or whatever your time frame is, X amount.
Right.
When we do this, you will save this amount. So there are specifics, right? And how they can win.
Right. They're about winning. Reds want to win.
Exactly. When you do the blue ones, they're most likely very open. I would give them as much research possible.
Okay.
Based on what the outcome will be in the next 5 years. You are in this industry or you're doing this. In the next 5 years, let's say Reuters is saying this and that. Here's an idea what we should do.
Right. Here are the strategies.
And present a graph. Present graphs.
Have a graph. Make sure that their mind stays
numbers
busy.
Here. Numbers here, graph here.
Right.
On this one, always bring up family. Hey, we are not all getting younger, there is a silver tsunami coming, and you will possibly retire in the next 5 years. Did you think about your loved ones, what we need to do?
Yes.
Right? So you also do trust and will, did we do anything like this? This is also important, right?
This is part of succession planning. Do you want to can your kids a successful business or leave your spouse a successful business? This is going to help bring that success. Okay.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you talk about here what the future will hold for the family and that you will be so loved by them.
Right. And then the yellows.
Yellow is a little bit more different because it's also more difficult because we are so structured in tax. Right. Everything has its boundaries, right? Still a little bit, flexible, but boundaries. They like living not in the day. I don't want to dismiss anybody about that, but they don't worry about it. But you can bring in and say, hey, it sounds a little bit tacky now, but didn't you always think about you want to drive a Porsche, or when you know something what they like, or you go fishing, or you want to have a vacation home here and there? Yeah, I have an idea how we can accomplish that faster.
Right.
So, and that's how you bring up then this planning.
Right. Awesome.
Here you bring up their desires. Here you bring up their safety. Here you bring up their wins. And here you bring up their security.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So everyone watching this, you just found out, you just got a taste, a 5-minute taste of what is possible with Discord. So contact VJ. It is so worth it. And we use the Discord type all the time. So I think this is a great time to end this. This has been an awesome episode. I'm very excited to post this. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and watching us. Obviously, subscribe and look out for the next episode. Thank you, VJ, very much for being on.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. You have a great day. Thank you for tuning in today's episode. If today's conversation sparked new ideas about tax strategy, or if you have a tax issue, please comment below or click the link to set up a conference with my team. Please tune in next time and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.